Today, I'm speaking with Abdoulaye Barry, a motion designer and teacher. I've been connected with Abdoulaye for a while now and wanted to catch up properly and get him on the show to talk about his work, his approach to marketing in the motion world, and his recent move to Dubai, which is really interesting, and his vision for his work there, the future of his work there. We talked about LinkedIn, his approach to marketing and outreach as a freelancer, the UAE, obviously, motion tools, and of course, much more. Thanks to those of you who sent in questions, particularly Paul O'Callaghan, Abdullahi's friend. And as always, if you appreciate the show, share it with someone or rate it wherever you're listening. And I hope you enjoy this episode with Abdoulaye Barry.
Abdoulaye, thank you so much for coming and taking the time to speak to me. I had some sort of fairly basic opening questions lined up to kick things off, but just following you on LinkedIn recently, I want to start with kind of diving into what's really the topic of the moment for you, which is Dubai, the UAE, and your recent move there. Love you to just give us an overview of like what's going on, why you moved there, and we can dive into lots of more specific questions. But give us an introduction. How's it going over there? There's a lot changing for you creatively and professionally at the moment.
Yes, so thank you, Jack. Thank you for inviting me. So I just moved in Dubai around 4 months ago. It was a process of like 2 years of like looking for opportunities. And one of the main reasons I decided to move out of France was I felt like I was stuck in some I hit a plateau in terms of work, also in terms of lifestyle. I didn't want to live all my life in France. I knew that from the beginning. So that's why I learned English early on. So I decided like 2 years ago with my wife. Actually, she was the one who told me about the Middle East because she was brought up there. She was born in Dubai and she lived in Kuwait. So she taught me a little bit about the lifestyle here and how my job can be like a good assets because it's still at like a baby face in this region. So I decided to look for opportunities for 1 year and a half. And last year, thank God, I was approached by a recruiter. It was July 2024. I did a couple of interviews and I moved in early November last year.
And your role at the moment, you're in full-time, right? You've been freelance for a long time, but is this the first full-time job that you've had? Or have you been
I would say it's my first, because before it was more like with schools, it was more like apprenticeship, like internships that I did full-time. And now it's like, I would say my proper full-time for the first time. Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, just give us a sense of it. Like for people who don't know a lot about Dubai and what it's like there, like talk us through a couple of because you've been posting some really interesting stuff on LinkedIn about, what it means to be a creative out there right now at this early kind of inception of sort of this new growth in the country. That just to put in perspective for some people, like I have very, very little research and context on Dubai at the moment, but I was looking up some things recently and about just how much they're investing at the moment in the creative economy. Like there's some goal of it being like 5% of GDP this year or something like that. So there's a lot of like resources going into it. It's a great place to start. But yeah, maybe you can give us just an overview and some perspective on what you're seeing on the ground there.
Yeah, for sure. So I would say, so Dubai is like, it's like a state within like a country that's the UAE, so the United Arab Emirates. It's like the US, United States of America. They have different states, so different rules. Okay, and Dubai is one of them. I would say Dubai is like the most popular one because it doesn't have too much oil or gas, so they don't rely on these elements. They rely much more on marketing, tourism, and things like that. So they have to find another way to bring people over. Okay, and in this region, I would say is the most open city. Because it has lots of expats from all around the world. So it can be like Westerners, lots of English people, Russian, and in the East, lots of Indian, Pakistanis, Filipinos. So it's very a mix. It's like a futuristic city. It's like a city, like when you watch like, I don't know, a science fiction movie, you see people from all around the world, like different ethnicities. This is Dubai. It's very diverse in that sense, and one of the reasons we moved there, it was because in this region it's the most mature market in terms of design, animation. They understand design well because they it's almost as if they've done the groundwork before. Now they are in the like a cruise phase. Like, okay, now we're doing design. We validated all the like so pyramids, like all the needs before. Now we want to move to the next level.
Can you explain a bit more about that? Again,
Yeah.
for people who haven't thought about it, like what you mean by groundwork, especially on a kind of country or sorry, on a state level.
Yeah, for sure. So because it's in the middle of the desert, so before there was pretty much nothing. So people for locals, they were mostly nomads, and when they discovered oil, they had to build everything from the ground up. So even though they were like nomad, not like pretty not really rich at that time, like 50 years ago, now they're pretty much like they're very wealthy, but it's almost like they it's not like France where like people who are rich in France, they're rich for a long time. Here it's pretty new. Like the grandfather of some families, they lived through poverty, and now the grandkids, they now live in like very like wealthy environments. So that's what I'm saying. It's like coming here. It's very, I would say, it's a good groundwork, a good ground for like new opportunities to rise.
Yeah, and also you're kind of touching on there at some kind of point. I don't want to define this too much, but like cultural references or cultural history, at least in terms of design or aesthetic. That are you saying that there wasn't a lot of that before, just because of the nomadic lifestyle? Is that what you're trying?
Yes, nomadic exactly nomadic lifestyle, and also like people didn't have like homes, like installed home, because it was desert, it was chaotic. They had to move to avoid the sun, to avoid like the other tribes. It was very like chaotic at that time. But now it's installed, like they have like lots of buildings, homes, people are like living here for a long time. And now they can go up to the next level, which is design. Usually that's what women do.
And so kind of how does the design, the language of design or the cultural references, how do you see that playing out at the moment? Presumably there's a lot of sort of like references that come from outside of the country. And like, are they finding a language? Like, how does that impact your work in marketing? And are there does the government kind of have any kind of stipulations about like culture or design? I was sort of interested. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, for sure. I would say it's mostly like the same pretty much. Like for me, I work in the luxury cosmetic industry. So it's pretty much like, it's very like here, the cosmetics, the luxe, the cars, the real estates are big here. So everything that's close to this type of stuff, they are like really pushed over, over. So I would say like it's pretty the same like any other like westernized country, because in terms of like managements, they always try to bring people from like the UK, for example. Lots of people from UK who are like managements, lots of people from Lebanese. So and some of them like they study in Western universities. So it's pretty much the same in terms of that. But some like I would say like there's it's not like because it's a city that has a lot of different ethnicities. There are categories. So there's like a scene for Indians. There's a scene for Filipinos. When you go to a theater, the movies, there's only movies for Indians, and you only see this like in Dubai and in India. It's very like
do they call them? I was looking it up, like districts, right? And like there's like creative districts or design districts. I don't know. Like I was researching it and stuff like that. Yeah. Have you explored much of that in the creative world?
Yes.
Tell us
So
about it.
It's very much like SimCity. I don't know if you have played SimCity. So there's different districts for different things. So for example, I live in Dubai Internet City, and so it's very close to Microsoft, Oracle, Canon, Sony. All these tech companies, they are established in Dubai Internet City because it has some tax benefits. Other things that there's Dubai Design Districts, or we call it D3 because Dubai Design District, and it's mostly for fashion, mostly for like startups who want to build up the company within like the fashion industry, cosmetics. So when you go there, it's like going to, I don't know, Soho, New York. Like it's people are fashion people, like dress like very, it's like that. And there's like a
How
business
big are
there.
these districts? Like, and did I hear you correctly that you were saying like tax is different in a particular district, or
It's more like there's advantages. So for example,
right?
if you come here as a company, you would register within like a free zone. So free zone is a place when you can register your company and you don't need like a local or like an office. So a lot of freelancer, they come here and they bought the company and they go to free zones to have cheaper prices, So it's mostly to deal with certain government facilities that know about your work. So for example, if you're doing something that's completely irrelevant to the design, you won't fit in the Dubai design district. Kind of.
Right. Okay. So yeah, there's so much like structure to create this kind of opportunity at the moment to kind of create this influx. And I'm just interested, yeah, for you, like you made the decision to come in, like into an actual company, right? But you could have also come freelance on a freelance visa. Like talk about that decision a little. I mean, presumably it's more stable for you to like travel across the world to go and like actually, know that you're going for something. But can you see yourself in the next sort of 2-3 years going freelance or starting an agency? Is that kind of like an ultimate direction?
Yeah, for sure. So before coming here, I thought I would come here as a freelancer because in France I was a freelancer, and last year it was first time being freelancer full time. So in my head, I would come here as a freelancer, but I wanted to leave France more than I wanted to come here as a freelancer. So I would take almost every opportunity, So I would look for full-time jobs, freelance gigs. Before coming here, I did 2 freelance gigs just to see how is it to work with people that live in Dubai. Fortunately, it was okay. It was not the best experiences, but it was okay. It was also very important for me to know the expectations about that because it's still it's in baby phase, like design wise in animation. So people tend to have higher expectation for lower price.
Right.
So it's
okay.
a bit counterintuitive. So I did my experience like with the 2 companies here in Dubai, and I was like, okay, it wasn't the best, but it's all right. I have my clients in the West, in France, Canada, and the US. So I would just go there and continue to work with them. But then I would get contacted by the recruiter, and then I said, okay, it fits my profile. It was the 3D, 2D, and also like cosmetics. And I was doing lots of cosmetics before. And I was like, okay, this is it fits my profile. In the future, yeah, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think it sounds like a sensible decision, like a huge transition like that to a new country. Like I'm in a period, I've got very young kids at the moment. So being in full-time employment makes like real sense. And we just moved. So it wasn't just the same. It wasn't as huge a move, obviously, but so I totally get that. But so I don't want to leave that point behind because it's a really interesting one about how sort of embryonic or young, or use the word sort of baby stages, it is in the sort of the perception or the kind of expectation of motion as an industry there. Let's dive into that a little bit. I'd love to know more about what you're seeing with people. I know you're in a particular, like one particular company, but presumably you got feelers out and you're speaking to different people. Like, why is that? And give me some examples of like what the expectations are and or the understanding of what motion is out there.
Yes. So to understand that, you have to understand that here in Dubai, the premium, the luxury stuff is very in high demand. People want to be like to put out premium stuff. So it comes in through anything. So the motion design industry. So for example, when a client comes to you and is from Dubai, they would say like the other like people doing it like in the different sector, and they will want to do the best as possible. But because most of them they don't understand the steps and all the process of like delivering a video in motion design, especially in 3D. So they think that it's easy or cheap. So they have high expectations because the city brings the premium out of everything. And they also have a pretty, I would say, cheap labor that wants to come here in Dubai, like and a lot of them want to come. So it's very like shaky, like the expectations and the actual commitment that they give, you know. So one example is that, for example, I will get approached for a clients, and they would show me like a mood board, and it was like only like videos that was done by studios, six figures, invoices, like big tech companies, and they came to me as a solo artist, and I was like, okay, this is good. That was showed me. Don't expect this level, certainly within this time frame and this budget.
Sounds like when I started out with 3D, like my mood board on what I was going to do in the next few years.
Yes, exactly.
And then it's taken a little bit longer than that, and I'm not there yet. So yeah. It is interesting, isn't it? And like, and also there's just so much of this AI gen stuff that's playing into that perception of how easy it is to create art now. And yet still with like 3D rendering for specific controllable art directable stuff, there's nothing, you can't go anywhere near AI gen yet. I mean, all the companies are trying to sell it like that right now. Like, look, we've got style transfer. We'll put your logo on this bottle. And it's like, yeah, but then like, yeah, there's so much stuff there. So the education of it must be interesting. So like, what were those conversations like, or how do you feel? How do you find that they go then when you start trying to explain? No, it takes more than this. Like, yeah, how is that conversation changing for you?
Yes. So for me, since I like to educate and teach with people on LinkedIn, for example, with clients, it's pretty much the same. I like to do this, and I like to be the first who does that because it builds a good relationship down the line. So it's like a very good thing for me to be the first motion designer that they interact with, so that later on, if they decide to work with me or not, they will at least have some knowledge when it comes to like doing like projects in motion design. So to me, it has been good so far. Like even like at my company, I'm the only one who does like a 3D and also 2D. So they pick me because mostly they saw me as a teacher also, so they want for me to teach the team. So the team there, they're mostly video editors or graphic designers, and they have very little knowledge about After Effects. So it was one thing that they really want to
content
educate.
Were they putting out before? Sorry to interrupt, but what kind of content were they putting out before you came, and what kind of content are you kind of creating together now?
Yes, so before it was mostly shootings, so big shootings by done agencies, mostly like Western agencies, and images, so graphic photoshopped images, like very simple stuff, and lots of video editing. So that was the thing, and they would use, of course, like some templates to do the work in an easier way. But they wanted to level up the game, and they didn't want to rely too much on agencies because it's a big cost. And they thought, why not have someone in-house to do the thing that we want to do? So instead of like hiring a photographer, someone at the lights doing the photos for the products, we can have like someone who can do 3D. We can have lots of references, lots of like iterations. So that was like the idea. That's why they hired someone like me.
Yeah, and so essentially, putting it really simply, it's more product shots, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, which they weren't doing before, or it was images or high cost kind of videography on it.
Yes, high cost, hiring people, photographers in the studio. Yes.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, that's fascinating. So just going back to a thing you said earlier about like you left, I can't remember what you said, but it sounded quite strong about like you left France because you really wanted to leave it at the time. Was that to do presumably with opportunities there work-wise? And maybe you can just compare the two places and why it feels better for you in Dubai.
Yes, so I would say because France is old country, people who are like motion designers who work with agencies there, most of them, they know each other for a long time, and like they did the same schools basically. And because me, I didn't study in a French school. I went abroad in Canada, so that's where I learned English. So I had a break from France for like 3 years.
Yeah.
So I studied like just like just to summarize, 2 years after high school in France, but it was not very like design. It was mostly like internet, multimedia, coding. It was like a mishmash of everything. Then I went to Canada. I stayed there for 3 years, and then I came back. But the market's already changed. Like people who were working together for a long time, and I was very new. So it's very hard as a freelancer to have trust, to get trust from people, especially at the beginning when you're a junior, when you first start on university. So I found myself, because I knew how to speak English, I was like, okay, French maybe is not for me. I would go abroad to work. And COVID hits, and it was like a big thing for us to work remotely. So that my first freelance actually came from someone from the US, and it worked really well. No matter the time zone, we managed to do the project. So I was okay. Working remotely is fine. For now, living in France is fine. Let me just continue with that. So even though I was living in France, I didn't have much French clients. Maybe like one or two, but mostly the rest was abroad, especially in the US and Canada. So comparison to Dubai is a place where most people are, they're not from there. Most people are like expats, immigrants. So it's easier to form connections because we don't have our family here. But in France, people are, they used to, they have a family, they're friends for 20 plus years. So it's harder to get into. But there, but here, it's pretty much, it's more open in a way because they want to meet people. So it's
yeah. And you're sort of somewhat a citizen of the world because you've sort of been in so many places, right? You're also in the US, or were you born in the US? I can't remember.
Yes, so I was born in the US, but I never lived there. Just born there. Just went there for quick vacations, but mostly Canada, a bit of Canada and France.
Right. So let's talk about this point about connection, because I know you're big on that. A couple of people sent some questions in, and I reached out to your friend Paul, and he was saying just about like, I should chat to you a little bit about your strategy for reaching out to people. And you alluded to this a minute ago about like educating people about motion design who might not know that they need motion design. So were you doing that back in the day when you're trying to win clients in France and elsewhere? How has that evolved, and how is that playing out now as you build? Sorry, a question before that. Are you trying to build clients around your work right now, or is it just you're just full-time in your job? Maybe you could answer that one, and then we can get to the kind of winning clients question.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually, since I came here, I never stopped like reaching out. I never stopped like looking opportunities, because once you start, you don't stop. You know, like once you, I mean, it's like a game of hunting. You know, so I didn't stop. I thought I would unsubscribe my LinkedIn Premium, but no, I still kept it. You know, so I'm still doing it. So to answer the first question that you asked, so at first I wasn't really good at reaching out clients. I was mostly like a nerd in my room playing with After Effects. So like most people, like before I used to play video games. So I transitioned through playing video games to playing with Premiere Pro to playing with After Effects. So that was like the timeline for me.
You also you went through a period of studying computer science, right, or game development as well.
Yes,
we can get to that later.
Yeah.
But yeah,
of course, yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's how I got into coding actually.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't really good at that. And for me, it was mostly okay. Let me get the best at it in motion design, and then clients would come to me like magically. I was a bit naive in that sense. So I would just work every day. I was very inspired by people, like the guy who did like every day for like 12 years and all that. That was like one of my role models. So I did that for like 1 year and a half, working every day. But I didn't have much it was okay for me to study for free, but I didn't have much of something in return. And then I met my wife, and actually she was the one who told me you should get into LinkedIn, because professionals are on LinkedIn, not on Instagram. You know, on Instagram, they want to chill, they want to see their friends, photos, cats, whatever. but professionals who are decision makers, they are on LinkedIn. So you should go there and look for them. I was like, okay, I didn't like too much LinkedIn. I had the LinkedIn account, but just for like at the beginning of my career, I was looking for like an internship and I had to do it class, you know. But then I started to get to LinkedIn because I know my wife, she always have good ideas. So I was like, okay, let me, I was a bit stubborn, but then I listened. So it took the 1 month for free LinkedIn Premium, and I started to just reaching out, like maxed out my connections, so 500 connections when you have. And that's how I got into like learning about marketing. So I stopped learning. I actually stopped doing tutorials about motion design like 1 year and a half ago. So before I
You
was
stopped looking at them or doing them. Which one are we talking about? Because you're a teacher.
I stopped. Yes, for sure. So tutorials motion design, I stopped doing them. I was still watching them when I had to do it for like a client project, but in my spare time, I would more like watch videos about marketing, about
Right.
copywriting,
Different
things
kind
like
of
that.
education. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
You're right. Like you can get to a point with your craft where you just go far, far, far down the rabbit hole, and then if you're not the sort of diminishing returns, if you're not bringing in the marketing side or whatever you want to call it. So do you still teach on LinkedIn in your view? I mean, I see you post, it's educational, but like in your mind, like what's your strategy now? And maybe you can talk a little bit about like that hunting word that you used, and Paul mentioned that as well. Like, going after, so to speak, like people who don't know about motion design, who aren't in that world. Like I've mentioned this multiple times on this podcast. The theme among motion designers is going on LinkedIn and talking about motion design and being found by other motion designers and not finding clients. So how do you break yourself out of that? Like what are the kind of strategies that you've used?
Yeah, for sure. So for me at that time, so that was like back in early last year. So I had not a lot of followers, not a lot of connections, but I knew that to easily gain followers, it was for me to grab motion designers first because we are very easy and we are not a lot on the platform. So I knew that okay, I will start with them.
When you say,
first.
sorry to interrupt, but not a lot on the platform, you mean just there's not many motion designers, or like compared to business?
Actively.
Active.
Yes, exactly. Yes. There's very few, like mostly motion designers, they are active on Instagram and YouTube, like our platform, like of choice. But LinkedIn, they are not a lot. Even if they are not looking at it, they are not active. So to me, in my head was, let's start with like a small part of the community of LinkedIn, and then let's go like incrementally, like go broader. So I started to just showcase my work, like anyone does, just showcase my work. But it didn't felt good because I was comparing myself to other motion designers, and obviously I was not very good at it. So I said, okay,
I never have that problem. I don't know what you're talking about.
I think it's called imposter syndrome.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of it.
And so I was doing that and I didn't like it. So I thought, let me, and also at the time I was looking for like freelance. So as I was looking for freelance, I remember when I was watching Chris Do, maybe you know Chris Do from the future.
No, not off the top of my head.
He's a Asian American who talks about the business of design.
Okay.
And I saw his headline to put on my title and LinkedIn, teaching the business of design. So that's from Chris Do. And he said to me, he said on the video, while you're learning something, try to teach to others. And that got into my head. And I was like, maybe that's why I should go. So because I'm learning how to get clients, so let me teach as I'm learning to do it. So I would just, whenever I found something cool on LinkedIn or way to connect, I would immediately give the secret sauce on the post, you know, just give it to my audience. And I saw that my post was more engaging to people than my work motion design post. I was like, okay, this is something that people want to know. It's cool that you do something for Nike or for like, you know, big brands, but if you are teaching them how to make money, they will appreciate a lot.
Yeah.
And also I knew that there's very few people on LinkedIn, motion designers, who are teaching how to get clients. There's some on YouTube, and I know pretty much all of them. I was just looking a lot at them. There's one guy I should mention. His name is Renderer, and he's an American guy. He's using Blender, and he's talking about business of brand, how to get clients. So I was like, okay, on LinkedIn, there's very few. So let me be one of the few to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like a very fresh market and no competition whatsoever. And I'm willing to give everything that I learn while I'm learning.
It's a great vibe as well. Like there's a phrase that rising tide. Oh, I've forgotten the phrase already. Rising tide lifts all boats. That's it. The phrase I was looking for.
Yeah.
And there's something great about that. Like the motion community is really good at that, I would say. Like there's a lot of sharing and good vibes, you know, which is fab. And yeah, the more the merrier for sure. We're all still working this out. And especially as technology and paradigms change, like we're all continually working it out. Even Haley Akins, who is on, like, who's like deep in this area and always has been, is continually like changing advice because the whole landscape changes. So the more the merrier for sure. And so where are you at? So you went through there, you're kind of like stages of thinking about teaching motion business. What about like clients? Like how have the like people who are solution or problem unaware, how do they find you? Like talk us through some of those things, or how do you find them?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. So first I wanted to grow my account, and I knew that on LinkedIn, when if your account is like, I don't know, like thousands of followers and it's very active, when someone type your title, you would come up in the search bar. So that was my goal. My goal was, if the clients search for a motion designer, my name would be in the top. So that was my first goal. Then my second goal was, okay, now it's me to reach out to them, because I cannot afford to wait for them to type my name or type my title, you know. So whenever like I would reach out to someone or like ask for connection requests, they would see my account and they would see that I'm active. And people who are active on LinkedIn, they like to be connected with people who are active. They don't like to have like connections, like ghost connections, people who don't do anything, you know, like not very active on the platform. And the more active you are, the more you want to be connected with active people, this kind of stuff. So I knew that from the get-go. So I was like, okay, let me grow my account. Let me look for them. And how to look for them? It was pretty easy. At that time, one of my dreams was to work in a studio. Yeah, so all these studios, North American studios like Hot Philos, Buck, Future Deluxe, Stenchville. But I felt that it was a lot of work to do few interviews, and a lot of people like me want to go there. So the door is packed with people, you know. So I didn't want to go with a space that's filled with competition. I want to go in a place where I'm pretty much the only one. So I started to look for companies that never done or didn't know about motion design. So how do I know that? I then go on someone LinkedIn. I click on the company page, and I see if there is a video. If there's no video, I would
pretty
reach out
simple
to them.
strategy, right?
Pretty simple. Yes, exactly. So why I would do that? Because I want to build like last long relationship with them. So being the first motion that they work with, so that's if I do a good job from the get go, I would like have like a good clients, like a recurrent clients. That was like my goal, to have like a recurrent clients. So yeah, just reaching out to people like that, explaining what is my job, and usually images are worth more than words sometimes. So I would, let's say for example, they have a logo, I screenshot the logo, I go on After Effects and animate it. That was like, and if the logo is simple, I would do it because it wouldn't take too much of my time to do it. You know,
Nice.
just like very, especially the companies that have simple logos are tech companies and SaaS. So SaaS and tech companies, they have simple logos, so you can just screenshot, go on After Effects, with the layer, opacity, you just draw onto them, you animate, and you import into a GIF. The GIF is very important because you want them to see animation thing as a loop when they open the message. So you send them the GIF and you say, hey, My name is Abdoulaye Barry. I'm a motion designer. The website is very cool. I thought that adding a little bit of animation would be like, would add like, more like life to it. Here's what I did. No need to answer back. I was just having fun. This kind of stuff.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's a really nice touch. Yeah, we sometimes say that to Glide, or we did for the longest time to Glide experts at my company, because Glide lets you build software for companies or anyone without code, and it's very easy to just get like a kind of splash page that looks like functional app with sort of that company's data in it, and that sort of like moment, that visual moment, is so useful. Whereas if you're like, you know, a business strategist, you know, trying to pitch a company, you don't have like a visual thing to just sort of send. So it's kind of a lucky medium, motion design or design, to be able to show stuff. And yeah, just like it really does capture the essence of what motion design can do and opens up that conversation. So,
yes.
And what else? What was the response usually to that, and how did that lead on to work on the clients that did actually lead on to work?
Yes. So most of them would be ghost. I would have no response at all. That was like when I first started, because maybe I think I will reach out to the wrong person within the company. So I had to to think twice about that, because it's very important within companies. There are certain people who will not touch the marketing side, or they will not touch the design. They will not do anything. They will just do one thing and that's it. So it's very important to know which position you want to, which position in the company you want to reach out to. So I did like a list of like people who are susceptible to hire me. So with the company, it's very like most of them are like marketing manager, producer, art directors, producer executive, UX UI. This role, this position, they understand a little bit about animation and design, and they can also like have decision making when it comes to hiring someone to do the job. So I started to reach out also to these people. And one time I remember I did like I reached out to someone within a company, and it was the brand communicator. So brand communicator marketing. Like when I see this title, I see money coming. You know, like it's very like is in my mind. So I reached out to them. I show the logo animation. I did the text like I told you, and one response would be like, actually we revamped the website not too long ago, and we were looking to do an animation, but we forgot. So, you know, I came at the right time, you know, and but it's usually like it's a lot like that. Like so in certain companies, when it's too big, they have like a lot of process to do one thing. And a lot of things that are like lost in the bushes. So they say about things in on a meeting, but if no one like talks about it like the next hour, it's forgotten. So that was one thing. So the animation was talked about in the meeting, but no one talked about it. And then I came like 1 week. I remember it was 1 week after they redid done like the website. And like it was like a good timing, I would say.
I see. And so clearly you've been iterating and thinking about this a lot. Are there any other sort of angles at which you're coming at it, like, you know, particular industries or niches that are more like open to kind of this reach out from motion designers?
Yes. I would say tech companies, everything that has to do with like an app, everything that has to do with new technology. So it can be like physical or like softwares, anything that has any company that like that's very like vivid, like crypto, for example, is very like they love animation and they know a little bit about it. So whenever you reach out to them, they would understand like quite fast. So I would say this type of companies, and also like another thing that you can do is if there is an event going on like I don't know in the next 4 weeks, and you know which company are going to these events. Usually on LinkedIn, they always post about, oh, we're going to these events. We're going to this event at what date? So you know the timing, you know your deadline. you know the companies, and you know at any events right now there's screens. So when there's screens, there's motion design. So you can go there and reach out to them. Hey, I saw that you're going to these events. You might need some motion work. Here's my portfolio. Here's what I do. Just let me know. Yeah, just like that.
Mm-hmm. Great. Nice. This is super interesting. We could obviously make the whole episode on like link strategy, but people should just follow you and find out more. A related point that might help us segue a little bit is like you using Barry in Motion as a kind of like brand, right? That's like now your name. Was that a big thing or just a small thing? Has that changed the way that clients interact with you at all? There's a question someone had.
For sure. I mean, Barry is my family name, and when I was in Canada, it was harder for people to say Abdoulaye than Barry because Barry is very popular in the US. So they would just call me Barry for a long time. So
right, okay.
It's also it's less letters, so it's easier to memorize.
Sure.
And I like the idea of putting in motion. I don't know why, it's just in my head. So barryinmotion.com, that's it. That was
great. Nice. So yeah, I'd love to transition a little bit to your craft and what you're working on now in terms of development. You mentioned for a while you stopped watching tutorials on like motion and stuff like that. You kind of got your 2D down. But I know that the last however many years, 2 years or something like that or more, maybe you've been really going deep on 3D, and that's clearly what's giving you your edge now in your work. Talk us through that. Like you've been doing Unreal, you've been doing Cinema, Octane, Redshift. Yeah, just give us a rundown of that and how it's going.
Yeah, for sure. So just to summarize, I started in After Effects, so 3D animation. That was my my beginnings. But I knew from the get-go that I would do 3D, but I didn't have enough. Like I didn't have a good PC to do it. So when I did like my first freelance, I had the money to buy a new PC. Then
did you try? Sorry to interrupt. Did you try doing 3D rendering on like bad PCs, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, it was a laptop, so it wasn't the best thing. And I quickly uninstalled the software because I couldn't handle it. It was way too much, you know. Even After Effects, it was very heavy on the computer, like, you know. So still to these days. So when I had like the money to buy a good PC, I took the money from freelance and I bought a new PC. And I went to School of Motion to do the education because I knew that I did it before School of Motion in animation and expressions. So I knew the quality of the course, and I knew that because it's expensive, you want to do it every week. You have homework, you have a class, you have a teacher assistant. So you want to do it like you want to be serious about it.
Yeah.
So I did the Cinema 4D Basic just to learn about the software, you know, and little things like modeling, lighting, rendering. And then after that, I went all full on tutorials on YouTube. So I did like maybe like 3 months with like the physical renderer. And then after 3 months, I jumped into Octane. And now I'm in between Redshift and Octane, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Any pros and cons for you there, like on the two renderers?
Yes. So Octane crashed a lot, at least in my memory, because I used to use Octane like last year and it crashed a lot. So I switched to Redshift because it's within the Cinema 4D, like the Maxon one. And I didn't see like the appeal of paying again like a renderer like for Octane. So I unsubscribed for Octane, and then I was switched to Redshift. So I had a bit of learning curve with Redshift. I would say like it's fast, but it's not too fast. Like after like playing a little bit with Unreal Engine, I'm very frustrated with 3D because I see Unreal Engine like doing like real-time thing and I love it. But when you go back to Cinema 4D, it's very frustrating. And I would say doing 3D is like if you have to have patience. You know, that's I would say that the one downside to 3D. You have to have patience a lot.
Talk about that a little bit, yeah, because I'm interested. I saw some posts where you did some comparison shots recently, where you're like, "This is Unreal, this is Cinema, or whatever it was, Redshift."
Yes.
Was the fidelity like in your work, which is like product product photography, right? Or rent. Like, how are you delivering work from Unreal, or is it all, is that just exploration?
Yes. So it's mostly explorations because the only downside to Unreal is that you need a lot of storage, And at my work like right now, I don't have lots of storage in a Mac, and also I'm using an iMac at work, but at home I have a PC. So Unreal Engine is not very good with Macs in
You
general.
need, for people who haven't used Unreal and me, like
Yes.
what do you mean? Why do you need a lot of storage?
Yes, because it's a real-time engine to be able to use and to have all this new stuff and all these assets. You have to download a lot of things before playing with it. And also the software in itself is bigger than Cinema 4D. It's way bigger. Like for example, I have like a folder Unreal Engine on my PC, and it's 100 gigabytes. Yes, it's 100 gigabytes just for the folder with the assets that you don't know with it, So it's just a lot. So if you don't have like enough space, it would be like a bit like laggy sometimes,
And what about the quality of like the renders that you get out of it? Like, would you be able to deliver those at work if there wasn't that storage issue?
Yes, I think so. I think for now I'm still using Cinema 4D because it's better to like for modeling. It's better to like craft the scene, and after that you put the scene into Unreal Engine. So so the experimentation that I do is mostly like personal work. So I do the work at my job in Cinema 4D and Redshift, and when I have the time on the weekends, I take the job that I did, I put it in Unreal Engine, and I see like how fast, how quick it is for me to iterate and have different angles, cameras, like this kind of stuff.
So is there any other kind of like tech or tools that you're playing around with? Your skill set is kind of 2D After Effects, 3D cinema, experimenting and bringing online the Unreal work, which I think we should all be doing. I feel like I should definitely be doing it. I just don't have the time at the moment. Are there any other tools or paradigms in motion that you're playing around with? Like, are you developing your design skill set, or like any other tech? Like, is AI playing into what you're doing at the moment?
Yes. So AI, not too much, unfortunately. The only AI stuff that I use like every day is ChatGPT, a lot because it's just so useful for me, especially for like writing with no typos, like no error, grammatical error. Like to me, it's the only thing that I use regularly. But other than that, I try to use Houdini also because it's very
it's easy. You could just pick that up in a week, right?
Exactly.
I love that. I mean, you like a challenge.
That's what people say. Yes, exactly. But because like at that work, I had a meeting with my my manager, and she talked about having a liquids on top of a product, and she was like, "Oh, it's yeah, you can do it, right?" And I said,
Yeah.
"Oh yes, okay. Give me like 3 months." But when she told me that, I said, "Man, I really need to learn Houdini because one time she would come to me and ask me about this fluids to these simulations, and I was like, okay, now I have to take the time. But the downside to this is that it takes a bit of time to learn Houdini. But first, you have to learn the UI, the concepts, like the nodes, everything like that. So it's not like Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine is pretty similar. Like you have like your layers, you have your sub layers, folders. Like you see the viewport, it's easy. But Houdini is another thing. But yeah, so I downloaded Houdini, but I opened it once, but I didn't. I'm just letting rest for now.
It's just sitting in the corner of your room, so you're not going to open it.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Scary box. Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, that seems like the peak for me of motion study. I can't wait till I get there, but it's definitely not the right time. It seems like a fascinating program, and the stuff that I see coming out of it is just amazing. And just like conceptually, I know I'm really into cavalry at the moment, and I know that those guys who built cavalry are just like massively inspired by Houdini. Cool. Okay. So I just wanted to sort of, we're slightly limited on time. I'd love to just chat for longer, but I guess the last sort of area I wanted to ask you about was, your future direction? Because like you've only been there what, like 4 months, 5 months? It's like very new. Yeah, right. So you just hit the ground. Could you just talk us through like what you're thinking? Like you're just getting settled, you're thinking about stuff. Your wife works in a similar area. She's been influential to you in certain ways, like professionally. I know you have ideas to like work with her in future. I'd love to know like, yeah, what you're planning for the future, what you're thinking about, at least for the moment.
Yeah, so working for myself has always been like in the back of my mind, even though I came here like as a full-time employee. But I will never, I cannot forget, I test the freelance lifestyle for a bit and I loved it. So I know that in the future I will do it, but in the more like professional, like setting way, because when I was doing it, I was pretty young. I didn't know much about like legal accountants, things like that. So it was very wide. And when I was looking for opportunities in freelance and job opportunities in Dubai, they ask a lot about like when you get to interview, they ask a lot about to do like a test. So you have to do a test for companies to be hired. And I started to work with my wife with those tests. So for example, like a company will ask me to do like a storyboard and then an animation of like 30 seconds or 20 seconds, something like that. And because I don't know how to draw, I'm very bad at it. But my wife, she knows how to draw very well. So we would kind of like work together. And because it was like a dream of ours to come to Dubai, it was like an easy choice for us to work together and to maximize our chances. So that started like this. And I liked the fact that I like the idea of working with your partner to I would say like just in general, I like the idea of working with someone that you know and you trust because you cannot lie on the spot. With coworkers, with like managers, there's always something like a bit like it's not very genuine sometimes. But with your spouse, like you cannot. It's purely like you want us to succeed. You want them to succeed. Like both. So I like the idea, and in the future, what I want to do is more like create a studio. So it's very like not now because we're very new to this region, but we want to create a studio that's handles all the creativity from graphic design to 2D, 3D animation, even to UX, UI, websites, and things like that. And I believe that my wife, she's very like quick to learn things, and she has like also a good mind for art direction. So while for me, I liked visions, she had the vision to bring things to life, and I had the hard skills to do it. So it's a very good combination. So that's like we want to do it, but for now just want to take the experience because we're still young and we still like we're newly married. So we want to take the experience of what is it to work in here, how is it to navigate with people, things like that. And even like for me, learning Arabic, like honing my skills in 3D. That's like a next step.
It sounds like a really interesting, fresh start for you, and I'd love to catch up with you in a couple of years or whenever and hear how it's all gone and see what you're up to. That'd be awesome.
Sure.
Again, we could have talked for a lot longer. Sorry it was short, but thanks so much for chatting. Really appreciate it, Abdoulaye.
For sure. Thank you very much for inviting me, and it was a great chat. And for sure, I will keep you posted about that. And if you ever pass by Dubai, just let me know. And we
100%. Yeah, I don't know anyone else there, so yeah, you'll be putting me up for the whole week.
For sure.
All right, man. See ya.
See you. Bye bye.